I'm going to talk a little bit about why innovation, why it's important, and why it's really important for learning and development departments to drive innovation in an organization. And then I'm going to hand over to Jaideep, who's going to talk a little bit about what it actually is. I just was at a dinner last night where we were talking about the Latin roots of it and had a big debate about it. So it's really good to look at what the thing actually is that we're talking about. And then he's going to go into some detail about how firms can innovate. And this is really focused on dominant firms, right? Firms that are established, like most of the organizations here, what they can do to drive that within an organization. And then finally, we're going to have a Q&A, and then our last bit is we're going to talk with each other about what can we do, how can we take action, how can we move innovation forward, and we'll have a discussion around that. Does that sound okay? Is that what you signed up for? Yep. Okay, fantastic. So is innovation for everybody? So we did a bit of a diagnostic, but I was at Learning Technologies recently, and one of our customers who couldn't make it today sent his regrets. Had a session on L&D departments being consultants to the business. And one of the things he said that really stood out to me is, if you're aligning your strategy to the business strategy, you're doing it wrong. You should be supporting the business strategy, driving the business strategy. The point sort of being the business has a strategy, and L&D needs to do everything that they can to help drive that strategy forward, not have a sort of a separate strategy over here that they're trying to link up. But how do you do that? How do you get that credibility? I've been with Reed Learning for just over a year now. Before that, I was in an organization, and I was struggling to innovate. And my confession, it would never have occurred to me to go to the Learning and Development Department. They were great people. They sent me on management courses. When I need somebody who wanted to do some development, I'd go to the L&D department. But if I had a business problem, they weren't going to be the people that I called. So how do you actually forge that relationship where you are a consultant to the business and you're helping drive that forward? So what we're hoping to do today is equip you with a lot of information and knowledge around innovation so that you can go and you can have those conversations with the business and you can help them say, listen, these are some of the issues around managers and leaders and how you can develop a culture of innovation, and we can help with that. Because, for example, here's Jason. Let's think about who he is. He's at a certain point in his career where he's got a lot of responsibilities potentially at home, two kids at university. He's really excited about innovation. He cares about the future of the organization, but he's also got shareholders that he needs to keep happy, that his boss needs to keep happy, and he's getting pressure on. And he's got a team around him that's got all these great ideas, but he's going to have to either divert resources or risk the cannibalization of his business. And he's probably got either he's dealing with the shareholders or he's dealing with a boss that's dealing with the shareholders that are saying, why are you spending money on this? It's not going to return for years. Or why are you diverting resources to this? Or protect this business because it's really we might not make it 5 years if we don't hit our number this year. So that's what poor Jason is dealing with. It's not that, I think when we talk about middle management, I mean, who's in middle management, right? Nobody thinks of themselves as a middle manager, but they are the lifeblood of an organization. They often get a bad rap, but really it's just that they're sort of caught between those two layers of the part of the organization that really wants to drive change and the part of the organization that really needs to make sure that they're meeting their fiscal responsibilities every year. And I think as learning and development people, we deal with managers, we deal with those guys a lot, right? There are a lot of who our programs are targeted at, so it's a great opportunity to actually work with them to help them navigate this. They came up as mass-producing, hierarchical, highly automated, but even they are doing crazy things with innovation. So they've taken a warehouse, they've partnered with an organization called Tech Shop, and it's basically a DIY playground with 3D printers where employees can go in and just start making stuff. Now, that might sound a little wishy-washy, a little fluffy, a little something just around getting people excited. No, actually, their patentable ideas increased by 100%. That's what happens when you actually change a culture around and you have leaders who have these kinds of ideas and are opening that up to their employees. James sort of alluded to this before, what the two key parts of a growing organization. Hi, welcome, come on in. Grab a seat, grab a book. So at Reed Learning, we sort of distilled what we think are the 4 major components to an organization's success. And management and leadership and values-driven talent, right? That's how you do it. But the 2 really key things from a business perspective, we see as customer experience, customer excellence, putting the customer at the heart of everything you do, and a focus on innovation, new ideas, new product development, finding out the right valuable problems to solve. So we've built a honeycomb around innovation, and we like to think it's our own innovation, because what this is to us, we've used biomimetics. Anybody know what that is? Biomimetics. It's when you sort of take ideas from nature and use them to build sustainable design and design things. So the honeycomb came to us because it's highly flexible, but yet it has a pattern. So that's how we've organized our learning. So that's the innovation that we're pulling, and not to be too meta about it, that's our innovation curriculum, again, because we think it's absolutely critical. And you can see how organic it kind of feels. Learning is facing massive change and disruption. You guys know about innovation. You're surrounded by it every day. You're surrounded by technology changing everything about how you do. So who better to go and consult in the business about change and transformation and things having to be done differently. And the reach that you have within an organization is absolutely critical, because it is those behaviors, it is those things that managers and leaders do on a daily basis that is going to make innovation succeed or die in an organization. And this is just an example of some of the new behaviors we're talking about. So some of the things that people are going to have to do differently. Open to sharing resources and partnering with competitors. That requires some learning, right? That's a completely new way of looking at things. Tightly managing the size of my team, making sure that you're focusing on a small group of people that can move quickly and get things done. Again, that's pretty counter. I've been in big organizations before, and a lot of it is about empire building, right? You want to build the biggest team so you have the most power, but that's not actually what's going to drive innovation. And also just focusing on rewarding employees who are championing new ideas and being a champion for those products, even if that means that might hurt your number in the short term. These are things that are not going to be easy for people to change within organizations, and that's why the organizations need you and need you on board for this. What if the police force actually really tried to make a difference and use innovation to better serve their community? And then I started thinking of all the different people we have coming and all the different people, customers that they touch, and if we could actually, within this organization, within this group of people, with Marks and Spencer, with Cass Business School, with Serco, I mean, there's a huge amount of people that we're engaging with. If all these organizations all of a sudden got to zero waste, the impact would be huge. A few examples, again, these are in the book, so if you want to read the book, you'll find out more about them. But a South Korean company, by just using a balloon in parking lots, launched a balloon when there was an empty space, so nobody had to drive around looking for a parking spot. 23 liters of oil in a single day saved. Toyota had a glass of water campaign. They had people driving with a glass of water on their dashboard. Now that wasn't really scalable, so they built an app that mimicked a glass of water that you could put on your dashboard. But that 678,000 kilometers driven more sustainably, just by changing people's mindsets around driving, so that there's can't spill the water, as opposed to I got to get there as fast as I can, and focusing on that. And then finally, Levi's changing their processes and also encouraging people to wash their jeans less. Not sure I'm fully on board with that one, but they're changing their processes and they're saving huge amounts of water. The CEO actually said he stopped washing his jeans because he didn't want to be a hypocrite. Anyway, maybe that was too much information. But the really important thing about Levi's too is they have a large young workforce in their shops. So not only are they saving the environment, they've got a lot of young people who are all of a sudden really engaged and excited and bought into what they're doing as an organization and really motivated. Again, imagine if your customers used your products better. So imagine if, and I think learning is a great example of this, if people actually went in and used what we're our product that we're delivering to them better, what would the impact be? So another great example is 50% of patients in the US don't take their medicine as prescribed. What if you can actually shift that? Huge impact. Now that's a cost of over $300 billion annually. Not to mention people's health. I assume if they're not taking their medicine, people are suffering more, they're getting more ill. That's where the numbers come from. They're going to the emergency room more. They're a burden on the healthcare system. So there's this glow cap, which I think is absolutely brilliant, and I wish I could get when I have to take antibiotics or stuff like that. But it actually starts playing music and glowing when it's about time to take your medication. And if you don't take your medication, it sends you an email reminding you. And if that doesn't work, it can actually email family members to tell them to get in touch with somebody. So it's a great innovation that is focused on just getting people to use the things that are out there better that will have a huge impact. And then finally, just think about the number of customers that you touch, and then think about just making their lives a little bit better, making their day a little bit better. What's the overall impact of that? And if everybody in this room did that, it would make a major, major difference in the world. Sorry if that's getting a little idealistic. I'm American, so I tend to get excited about things. But I just wanted to, so often we talk about innovation as protecting our company from disruption. But really, it's about making people's lives better and having a massive impact on sustainability, on efficiency, on happiness, whatever it is. We all have the power to do that, and you guys all have the power to do that within your organizations.